Hey, afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Carol J. Dunlop, your online wow strategist and eight-time best-selling author. Today, we're going to talk about easy ways to stop hackers in their tracks because you don't want to go to your website one day and just look at it and it's just a white page or a blue screen of death or a red warning from Google that says you've been hacked. Nobody wants that, right? So I'm going to tell you how to avoid it. Got 5 steps for you today. And if you like this kind of training, I mean, I know you just got here, but if you like this kind of training, which is how to create your own wow website and keep it up and running, please like this video, share it, and if you feel inclined, do subscribe because I love that. And don't forget, you can see it on the screen up above and down below. You can get your own free wow website planner by going to csicorporation.com/planner. Okay, let's get into what we're talking about today. These 5 things are not the entire thing that you need to do to keep hackers away, but they're the 5 most important things that you can do. Plus, I got a bonus tip for you at the end. So, there are millions and millions and millions of websites, and this is particularly for I want to say it's definitely for WordPress websites because that's what I design, WordPress websites. You can use some of the tips on other types of websites, but mainly it's for WordPress. So if you got a WordPress website, you know what I'm talking about each thing when I tell you about it. So number 1 is strong passwords. Now this is for any website, any platform, anything that you go on. Have strong passwords. That doesn't mean password is a password or making a capital P or putting some numbers at the end. No, create something crazy that no one else would really think about, and that a computer, if they're using spam bots and stuff, it's not going to really figure it out because there's millions of combinations. But just make it hard. Don't make it easy for someone to come to your site, guess your 4 little numbers that you have, and then get in there. You need something with some uppercase letters, some lowercase letters. You need some funny graphic, symbols like the number sign, the at sign, let's see, the dollar sign, the asterisk. Put those things in there and then have some numbers and some letters, capital letters and small case letters in there. So if you do that, you're more likely than not to not get hacked. Nobody wants to get hacked. Nobody wants spammers to attack their site. And sometimes you can't even tell that the spammers are there, that they've made an attack on your site. You just may see this is a number 1 sign. If, for instance, you go into your cPanel, which is the controller for your WordPress, it's like, here's your cPanel, controls everything. And then inside of that is your WordPress site. So your WordPress site sits inside of the cPanel. The cPanel controls everything. It's how you create emails, run any scripts or anything like that. Make sure that you have strong passwords. Do a password generator. I know I use Dashlane for all my passwords, and it has a password generator. Any of those things usually have a password generator. And do not use admin as a username. So I'm talking about passwords, but your username, to get in there, don't use admin because WordPress used to, I think, maybe they stopped it about 3 or 4 years ago. They used to, when you set up the WordPress thing, your admin level username was always admin. And so people were like, oh, it's probably admin. So they could probably get in there and then figure out your password. So for number 1, do not use admin as your username. You're going to be better off using either your email address or some other made up thing, first name, last name, plus some letters. Don't make it too crazy because then you can't get in yourself. I like to tell my clients to use their email because it's easier for you to remember. And if you don't have that email and password right, it is not going to let you in. So number 1, do strong passwords. Number 2, create a backup schedule. Now, if you're on WordPress, you must back up your website at regular intervals. If you can't do it every day, you need to at least do it once a week because you could have your website back it up manually and you're like, okay, I'm safe. and then the very next day somebody hacks you or spammers get in, you're like, okay, I just got the backup. But what if you forget for like a month or so and you've been working on your website, you just added that new program that you want out there, and you haven't backed anything up yet, and some spam attack or hackers or malware gets in there and takes down your whole site, you've lost everything. So you really need to back up your database, which is what actually runs your WordPress website. You need to back that up every single day and keep that copy not on your website, but have it emailed to you if your site isn't too big, or have it go to Dropbox or something like that. There is something that keeps floating around in my head that I'm going to say, and then it just goes out. So I'll think about it in a little bit. I can't remember what that was. Now, for your whole entire site, I usually say to back that up at least once every 2 weeks. Now, if you can get with a company like us to do web maintenance, we back up our client sites every single day. They're backed up. We back up the database and we back up the whole entire site. So if anything happens at a moment's notice, we can go up and put that thing back up just like it was every single day. So if you are doing the web maintenance yourself, you can, what I used to do, like I said, was the database files were every day, and you can use a plugin like Backup WordPress, just like it says, one word, Backup WordPress, install it on your WordPress site and set it up so that your database and your files are backed up every day, like around 3 o'clock in the morning or something. And then your main backup with all your pictures and all your other files every 2 weeks. It should be good enough for you just to do on your own. But if you really want to stop worrying about backing up, then come with us, leave me a comment down below, and I will get in touch with you and tell you exactly what you need to do, and you can work with us. All right. All right. Number 3 is SSL encryption. Socket layer. There's another S. Secure socket layer, I think, encryption. And just to make it easy, when you see a website that has HTTPS, or you see the little lock beside the HTTPS, that is a secure site. That means that they have installed something on their site to give them a secure socket layer. So it's encrypted. Basically, it can't stop 100%, but it will stop. Like if you don't have the SSL on there, number one, Google isn't going to show your website to anybody, so you need to have it. So most web hosts do the free encrypt free. I can't remember if it's free encrypt or encrypt free, which means that you can get that SSL at no charge, right? And we do the same thing. We don't charge our clients for the SSL. We used to, but then they start making it free. So why should we charge? So we didn't. That is included. Your SSL is included in your hosting package when you start hosting with us. And you can tell immediately if you have the SSL or not. You just put your website in, or whatever the domain name, put it in to a browser and see what comes up. If the website is encrypted or has that secure socket layer, it will automatically change to SSL. It would HTTPS // whatever your domain name is. If it doesn't change to that, that means that you are not secure, you are not safe, anybody can hack you, and Google's not going to show you. So you need to get an encryption installed. And like I said, it can be free. It is free. So just contact whoever your service provider is and say, hey, do I have this? Can you install it? If it's not already in there, usually it's like automatic now, but if it's not already in there, they will do it. Okay, the fourth thing is two-factor authentication, or 2FA. And you might have heard about people saying, what is 2FA? Well, the basic of the 2FA thing is that once you get to the site, the WordPress site, and you put in your username and your password, it's going to go to another screen. Like within a second, it's going to go to another screen. We have to put a set of numbers in there. And I know you've seen that on some other things. A lot of people are going to this now because it is a good way to protect their website. So what happens is when you get to that screen with the numbers, you have to have your phone handy so that you can go to the Authenticator app in Google. The Google Authenticator app is another app that you need to download, and you just bring the site up, see what the numbers are, and put those numbers in your site, and then you can get in. Now, WordFence is a great free plugin that does that. You can set up 2FA in there. You can set up, it's called, the part is called login security. And the good thing about it is if anyone else has access to your site, you can make them participate in this 2FA. And it gives them a grace period. Like you sign on, you sign them up, and you said, hey, I just signed you up with this 2FA inside the site. None of this is going to cost you any money, right? And you say you need to go and log, you have 2 weeks or 10 days to go and log into the site and set up that 2FA, two-factor authentication. If they don't do it, then they can't get, after 10 days, they won't be able to get in the site. I know some of my clients are like, Carol, I locked myself out, I can't get in. But it's not that hard. Just remember, all you do is you have WordFence installed, you set up the login security, and when the user goes to the site, it will automatically let them in the first time if it's within that 10 days or so. And I suggest you do not give them any more time than that 10 days, because you don't want that access to just be out there so that anybody could possibly get in there. Any user on your site, anybody that has to go into your site for anything, they need 2FA, two-factor authentication setup. You can do it through WordFence. It is amazing, and WordFence is free. Of course, all these things have premium things, but the free one does really good stuff. And number 5, you need to get on an update schedule, because since you have this WordPress website, your WordPress websites needs to be updated regularly, like probably weekly, because the best thing about WordPress is that they have all these developers who are creating, designing, developing these plugins that you can put into WordPress to help you do anything, like make it into a membership site, create a store, have username login access for other people other than yourself, like people who buy your programs and stuff like that. The bad thing about WordPress is it has all these developers that are creating all these plugins and stuff to help you do all this stuff. So those plugins are individually created by individual developers. That's how WordPress is free. That's how it's, because it's called open source. They can, if you're a developer, you can write a plugin for it and you can get it put up on the depository for the plugins, and people can download it and put it on the site, right? The good and the bad. The thing is, in order to keep ahead of the game so that you don't get hacked, spammers don't get in, you don't get a malware insertion, you need to update these plugins, because those hackers are just as smart as the developers. And the developers, when they come out with new versions, it's usually to block a hole or something that the plugin isn't doing, some kind of vulnerability that the plugin has, and to help it do stuff better. So it's not just about, hey, the latest and greatest, I don't need to update this plugin because it's working just fine. That has nothing to do with it. Even if they don't enhance it, which they usually do enhance a plugin with an update, even if they don't enhance it as in giving you new features, they're going to fix the stuff that wasn't working, or the bugs that they found, or the open doors, the little bitty slither of openings that they have on that site that could possibly cause you to get a malware infection, or hackers to hack you, or spammers to find you, or anything like that. So we don't want that to happen. And then also the WordPress core itself, it is an open source software program. So they're always updating. It seems like they update just as much or more as the plugins, because as I said, there's all these people that are trying to knock on your WordPress front door to get in. They've got that bam and ram, you like the police coming up, bam, bam, trying to get in. That is called a brute force attack. And that brute force attack happens all day, every day, to just about every website that's out there. They are trying to get in. And it happens on non-WordPress sites as well. But WordPress is just the hacker food, I guess. But the thing is, you can keep them at bay. You don't have to be worried about it. I know that's one of the reasons that some people don't use WordPress. They have to update it so much, and it's all this stuff is going on. That doesn't, come on. If you're safe, if you're smart, you don't have to get hacked. But even if you're on one of those other platforms, you can still get hacked. Come on now, they can still get in there and take down your site. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with huge corporations who have thousands of employees, hundreds of offices. I've seen it happen to very small websites who are just a one-off entrepreneur, mom and pop. I've seen medium hack. Anybody can get hacked at any time. So you need to protect yourself, and I'm telling you how to do it. So that's you need to, sorry, I didn't say, you need to get on a schedule. Like I said, with the schedule, with backing up and all that, you need to have it on a schedule. I used to have, this was years ago, I said every first of the month, I'm going into the site and I'm backing up everything. First of the month was not good enough. So I had to do it like every 2 weeks. But I say now that, and this is the bonus tip I'm giving you, that you need to look at your site weekly. This is a bonus tip. Look at your site weekly, because you do it, by doing that, you can head off stuff that's coming. You can see if something has happened. Suppose, a lot of times I have just gone into a site, and this was before we really cracked down on security, when all this stuff was coming out. My husband was working with different security platforms and stuff. We go into the site, yeah, it's good. And the next day the sucker was like, what happened? And they can, oh, I remember what I was going to say. Hammers, spammers, hackers, they can sneak in and be in control of your site, and you have no idea, right? I did this site for an organization that I was part of. I mean, they actually paid me to do the site, and it was running well. And it was like, but we had a lot of people that would log into that site every day, and they were not exactly following what I had laid out for them to do. Like giving everybody this strong, everybody get a strong password and all that. Half the people were doing it, half weren't, because it was a volunteer organization and people wanted to go into the site and do different things. And so one day, I remember seeing something was off. I don't know quite what it was. Like the site was still there, it was still running, but I was noticing that the bandwidth was really high. The bandwidth is your capacity with the site. Let's say this is how much you get, how much bandwidth you get to use, with things coming in, people downloading, calling up your website and stuff, you get this much. Well, if your bandwidth is growing, when you look up there and you've used like maybe 5 gig of bandwidth in a month or in a few weeks, and you're a very small site, it's just you and 5 pages. You're like, what the heck is going on? That means you've been hacked. You've been hacked. And not only that, but the hackers or the spammers are using your site to promote their crap. So I had to go in deep on that site, and I finally found the files that they had put in it. They had hacked into not the C, well, kind of like outside of the WordPress piece, and they got into the cPanel part, the outside, not WordPress, but the outside, which was controlling the WordPress. And they had all these scripts running, and it was leading to, truckers, and it was all kind of stuff. Turns out we had to move away from that hosting platform, because that hosting platform was crap, and it had caused a lot of damage that we didn't even know about. I mean, a lot of pages had a lot of stuff in there. So I had to go into the database and like just look through. It's like going through a needle in a haystack and figuring out what the exact phrase was that they were using to, get this stuff going. It was crazy. It took us a couple of days to do it. My husband was working on it. I was working on it. It was just crazy. But we finally got them all neat, packed up, and secure. We put in some extra measures of security. We made the people who are logging on have to have strong passwords, and we definitely had to put the premium version of WordFence on this, so it would tell us immediately if any of the files names were changed. So that is a big thing too. If you go into your site and you see some weird, you go into the cPanel. Now WordPress is not going to tell you, except for WordFence will look at the WordFence files, WordPress files, and tell you if something has changed. But if you go into the cPanel that gives you all the files and stuff, and you see a file that says xyzpp2z.php, and it's usually a .php, not all the time, but it's usually a .php. Now, mind you, WordPress is made on PHP, and all its files are PHP. But those PHP files are in certain places. They're not like all over the site. So if you go in the cPanel and you see folders with that XYZ, and you go in and there's some PHP files in there, sure sign you've been hacked, or you've suffered a malware attack or whatever. But most people don't even know about that. Most people don't know what cPanel is and never use it. All they know is I log into my WordPress and I can't get into my site. So we want to head that off before that happens. So again, to recap very quickly, number one, keep strong passwords. That is like a lot, like 8 to 10 letters, numbers, symbols in combination, capitalized letters, and small case, lowercase and uppercase. Sorry, I can't think. Number two, schedule your backups. Like I said, every day, back up your database, and every 2 weeks, back up the whole website, the files. Number three, make sure that you have SSL encryption, and you can tell if you go to if you can get to your site, HTTPS, and you can put that on there. But if you don't have that, it will just cross it out and say this site isn't secure. And you don't want any of your people going to the site, or any potential clients going to the site and said, this site is not secure. What? They're not going to spend a dime. And then number four, the 2FA, two-factor authentication, is when you're logging in and you have to have your phone in your hand. Now, true story, one of my best clients right now had come to me several years ago and said they wanted to do a website, and I put in my proposal. They didn't take my proposal. I think the other person had worked out with them, and they were cheaper or something. I don't know what it was. So I was like, okay, lost that, go on. The next year, I met this person at the same conference that I'd met them at the first time. And guess what happened? They said that the person that they chose had tried to get into their GoDaddy account and set up domain names. Now, why would you need to go into somebody's GoDaddy account and set up other domain names, except if you're using them, like you're actually stealing, theft of services, right? And because they had two-factor authentication set up, both on their website and on GoDaddy, they couldn't get in. But they got a notice, hey, somebody's trying to get into your site, or it sent a code. You're trying to get into the site, here's a code. And they're like, what? So long story short, she told me what happened, and now all her website stuff, she comes to me, all of it. I am so happy. I hate that happened, but it's true. These scary stories are true out there. You can be taken. Malware insertion, spammers, hackers, is a real threat. Do not think that it's not. It is a very, very real threat. And then finally, update schedule. Have an update schedule for when you're going to update. If you're going to do it yourself, make sure that you know exactly when you're going to update everything, because it's going to take you about any length of time from 30 minutes to an hour. Do it like I said, once a week. You can schedule that automatically, right? You can schedule these automatic updates, but sometimes the automatic updates don't work because there's something in the plugin. One of the plugins goes crazy and you log onto your site and it's a white screen. So while you're updating, I usually update those plugins one at a time, or maybe two at a time, and then look and see, is the website still up? Because those plugins can just hit, knock each other's heads just like that, and then your site is down. And then if you do it like you don't update all of them at once, but you update one or two at a time, you know that if you update that plugin and then your site goes down, that it was that plugin. Then now you have to go into the cPanel and rename that plugin, just add a 1 on the end, and then your site will come back up. And then finally, look at your site every week. I want you to go to your website and look at it from just like you were somebody who's going to go to the site, make sure all the links are working, make sure everything looks good, the pictures are still in place, nobody has hacked and put other stuff on your site. And then I want you to go into the back end of the site and make sure all the stuff is working there. And that could include going into the cPanel just to make sure you don't have any funky names on your in your files. You don't have any funky names. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to CSI Live Fridays, where I teach you how to create your own wow website. Do not forget to download your free planner. Just go to csicorporation.com/planner. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you next Friday. Bye for now.